So I've practically had this fan running nonstop since I got back from Computex. That's about 3 months or 2,200 hours or so, and this thing is just so quiet. It just disappears into the background. It's a very, very cool little gadget. Welcome to Machines More. Today we're going to take a look at something a little atypical. This is the new Home line from Noctua. You might know Noctua for their coolers and their fans for DIY PC use, like these guys, the A12x25s. The Home line is a little bit different though, and while they're still based around their PC products, the intent is for the items to be a little bit more adaptable and deployable for other purposes that you can still of course deploy on a PC build like I'll show you here shortly, but this is mainly going to be used for a home theater type of setup, a receiver there, or some other type of home appliance where you previously wouldn't have been able to benefit directly from being able to use the Noctua goodies there. Real quick before I begin, big thanks to Noctua for providing some of these add-ons and accessories for me to test and show in this review, but this video is not sponsored by them. And you can expect this review and all the content on this channel to be independent. So the first item I have here relies on this rubber gasket actually. This is the NV-MPP1.Brown, and this is basically a 12 centimeter or 120 millimeter fan bumper. You just remove your stock rubber bumpers on your Noctua fans, and then you just pop this guy on just through the same holes there. And you don't have to use them necessarily with these A12x25s like I have here. Any Noctua 120mm by 25mm fan will work. These are of course their best fans, but if you have something else like an S12 or F12x25 fan, those will work too. The idea here with the thick pad is to create an airtight seal on whatever surface you're putting it on so that the fans can provide airflow to your device, and this can also dampen the vibrations. And critically, there's an offset between the surface of the fan blade away from whatever surface it's on, just to avoid any turbulence-induced noise. If you have a ventilation pattern cut out on that surface, this will help avoid that. One application is an AV receiver, which is a nice way to help cool a device like that, especially if that happens to be a passively cooled unit. You also see in their promo material, they have a set of these mounted up over a Fractal Terra as a set of ad hoc top exhaust fans. You could set this up like this. They do use 4 thicker corner bumpers with the stock setup underneath the grill, which I don't know that you really need those versus the stock fan bumpers, especially if you're using these anti-vibration mounts like I'm installing here. And then you place the grill over the fan, and then to power the fan you have 2 options. The best way, if you have a spare motherboard header, is just use a Y splitter cable to connect to the fans, and then just snake the fan cables through a slot in the back of the case like this. And that way, if you connect it back to your motherboard, you can just control the fan curve based on your system parameters. So if that's impractical or you don't have a spare header, you could also use an adapter like this fan controller over here just to connect to the fans. And then, yeah, you'll need an AC adapter at this end too. But it does look kind of funny, right? Because, you know, it's an external fan. If you have to do this, I feel like you have the wrong case, and then you probably also have the wrong cooling solution. If the exhausts are what you need, something like the T1V2 may be more appropriate here, but of course I did want to get a practical test in. This was a build we did not too long ago. I did purposely pop in a 12700K, which frankly speaking is way too much CPU for this cooler for anything other than gaming. But taking a look at the stock gaming temps here with this setup, I've got the GPU fans locked at 1300 RPM with CPU fans at 1500 RPM. Temps really aren't too bad. I do already have an NFA 12x25 at the bottom of this case running at 1000 RPM. With the 2 external fans, I'll run them at 1000 RPM. You'll see the temps do improve significantly. It's about 7 degrees on the GPU side and a smaller difference for the CPU temps, of course, keeping in mind CPU isn't at full utilization here. So this is not going to level up the case dramatically for its CPU capabilities because of the restrictions from the cooler size. In a heavy CPU rendering scenario, the CPU is still going to throttle at stock. The exhausts, they do allow it to avoid throttling for a few additional moments. But while there's some entertainment value here to this setup, you really do want to get the right case for whatever CPU you're running at the end of the day. But definitely, if you have an AV receiver or an integrated amp, something that you want to run a little bit cooler in your home theater setup, for example, this could be a good solution. Just place it on top. I don't know that you would necessarily need fans that are this good, though. Just lower cost S12A fans from Noctua running at a lower RPM. They'll still be more or less inaudible while providing that extra airflow for your electronics. There's not a huge amount of static pressure that you're trying to push air through, after all. Noctua does have a bundle with the $35 Chromax A12x25. You get one of these FC1 controllers, 4 MPP1 corner pads. Those are just the thicker rubber pads for the top, and the grill altogether for $80. That's for a single fan unit. So if you want to run two, you could get two of those sets for $160, or you can get the components separately. But once you add it up, you would have an extra splitter. But if you just bought two of those kits, you'd be at $160, right? And if you have a Y cable already, you would even just be able to use that single fan controller, and you have an extra fan controller as well in that scenario. It's not cheap either way, but these are quality parts in general and very, very quiet. So I'm just going to turn these on right now so you can hear. So this is going to be a low speed. And we'll go to a medium speed. All right, so it's barely audible at this point. And then we'll turn it up all the way to the high. Okay, and that's 2,000 RPM. Of course, you're definitely going to hear it at this point. I don't think you need to run it any faster than like 1,000, like I tested these at. So that would be, right around that, just barely audible point. Also, part of the new home lineup is this desk fan. Yes, I have been running this nonstop for 3 months now, and I purposely didn't clean it off just to show you what it might look like over time. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to clean underneath the grill. You do have to pop that off. But yeah, it's so quiet. I just forgot I was running and never turned it off. And then I thought, well, I might as well give it a durability test, right? So the very heart of this one is also the NFA 12x25 in Chromax. This is a $35 fan, which Noctua rates at least 150,000 hours mean time between failure, and that works out to be about 17 years. So I, in fact, do have quite a ways to go to keep on testing this thing to see if it'll fail, right? But it's more than just a fan. You have a few add-ons that make this work as a desk fan. First off is this frame here. This articulating frame just allows you to adjust the angle of the fan, okay? So you can kind of tilt it. And over the fan sits the airflow amplifier. This is a plastic shroud that sits over the fan, secures with screws. This allows the airflow to be directed or concentrated to the distance where you might be away from the fan at a desk, right? So call it like 60 centimeters or so. And it is quite effective. So I kind of joked with Steve over at Gamers Nexus that he'd be a lot better suited to modeling this fan and the fan's airflow pattern than my head would be. But seriously, you really do need something billowy to show off the characteristics. You do have it cranked up to max. So all will cool very well at roughly 60 centimeters or so. Right? You can see the airflow pattern here. It really does seem to drop off quite steeply right past my head. Right? It's not my head. It just drops off right here, see? And then the airflow is pretty good here. Right here. No more. It's kind of focused that way. So it's kind of optimized for being placed on a desk in that sense. So you really do need to be close to this thing, and you do have a fan grill on one end. This base is magnetic, which is nice, but ultimately this does feel a little bit cobbled together just to make the A12x25 work as a fan to cool a human rather than kind of a seamless solution, right? Because you have a regular 4-pin fan cable that needs to be plugged into the control dial, and then the AC/DC adapter plug, it plugs into this guy over here, like that. It was a little bit clunky versus a designed from the ground up desk fan. Futuristically, I really would like to see this have an on-off button and just a seamless cable, one straight piece to the controller, and then with the AC adapter on the other end. You'll still have the controller knob in between, but it is promising because it's based on a very quiet fan with a very pleasing noise profile. So even at max speed, it's not offensive, like you heard earlier. It is pricey, of course, it's $100. It's not unreasonable when you add up the individual cost of the components you're getting. For example, the most expensive is the fan stand at about $40, but it is still a lot for a desk fan, right? As good as this one is. So unless you are a Noctua fan, pun intended, of course, I would wait to see if a more unified solution materializes. Of course, if you are a die-hard Noctua fan, then you probably want a tan and brown version, right? So you might want to put one together yourself. And the good thing is you can get all these individual components separately. So yeah, Noctua Home, exciting new foray into new applications. These, of course, are more niche products that are based around Noctua's best 120mm fan, and hopefully more to come here. I was cooking dinner the other day, and over the noise of my range hood, I wondered how much better life would be if I just had 10 A12x25 just spinning over my cooktop as the exhaust. So, hey, you know, something to think about, Noctua. So if you enjoy this quick look here, please give a like. I'll leave links for all of these goodies down below. Please make sure you're subscribed, and thanks for watching.